Hello, Gemini, and welcome to your bi-weekly reading. This is the reading from the full moon on the 3rd to the new moon on the 17th. And this is for sun or rising signs for Gemini. So Gemini season. So we are doing something a little bit different for this particular video layout. These are shorter videos. So these are the ones where we tend to keep them short and sweet. The longer videos, the month-long videos, those are already out. So if you want to see like a bigger spread and what's going on for the entire month, like how your month progresses, you can go check those out. I'll make sure to put them up on the screen as we get to the end of the video here. So this particular reading, we are taking a look at what kinds of shadows, okay, we'll go with it. What kinds of shadows or beliefs that you might have that are standing in the way of your progression forward, to move your life forward, to build what it is that you want to build, to create, to manifest whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest. We're also going to be taking a look at like your actions. So like what's holding you back and what can you be doing and be in action about to align yourself with the life that you're wanting to build, with the values that you have for yourself at this point. And also what kind of spiritual guidance can we get for just like the next 2-week period of time, just to ferry you through this particular period of time, right? So the reason I'm doing this for like with the shadow deck for this particular period, for those of you who don't know, I'll say really quickly, the new moon to full moon is a waxing period. So the energy is growing till we get to the full moon, and then it gets really full and pregnant and full of energy, and then it bursts, right? And much like cutting into an egg yolk, like after the full moon, everything kind of like spills out like that. So from the full moon to the new moon, which is what this is about, is a great time to look at like it's a perfect point in the month to look at like what isn't really working, what needs to go, what needs to be released, what can I let go of, or what can I look at inside of my own self that is maybe holding me back, right? So this is a good time to look at this. So I felt like we would do something different this month. We'll see, like whatever the feedback is from people. I also have this new deck that I have been dying to bust out for days since I got it, and this is and I was waiting until I filmed the moon videos for the 2-week period of time. So let's take a look at also what kind of actions you can be taking. Like how can you be in consistent action to be aligned with what you say that you want to create? Because often we say like, oh, I'm going to make this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I want to like whatever, be healthier or grow a business or move to Spain or whatever it is. And I feel like these are the 2 cards, and then we go about our life doing the day in and day out habits that we've been doing for some time, right? And it doesn't really shift things in any kind of direction that is helpful for us. So we're looking at this more in depth. How interesting that these 2 cards are mirroring the stance. They're both upside down like this. I love this. I'm already looking at things from a different perspective. It's coming through very clearly here. So, okay, Gemini, we are going to take a look first at the, and remember, these are short videos, so I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can. So the Parasite card, right? Oh, I think my phone is about to overheat. Sorry, you guys, my phone started to overheat, which is what I'm filming on. So, okay, sorry. Back to the Parasite. So, Parasite card, and again, this deck might feel like it's poking and prodding. It's meant to be a little bit uncomfortable because it is a shadow deck. So you might have some resistance to seeing what comes up and like, how dare they? I am not a parasite, right? But it's more pointing to how you might be leaning too much on other people in your life to the point where it's parasitic. Not to say that you're an actual parasite, but let's keep in mind that often parasites, not always, but they can kill themselves as well as the host by leeching too much. And so maybe you're depending on certain people in your life too much emotionally or financially, or for like stability and grounding and security, you know, in whichever way you see yourself like leaning too much on people to help you with where you're feeling overwhelmed. Like it's very well could be a very innocent place that you're coming from, where you're just like, I'm overwhelmed in life. I'm asking for help because we're not supposed to do it all alone. And so not doing it all alone, but also maybe not, maybe you're depending on one or two people too much. Maybe it's just one person, or maybe it needs to be like diffused and you need to diversify your places for support. Either way, I think it also points to the fact that like you have more power than you maybe have been perceiving. Maybe you are feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you do need an actual break. And that's why you are depending so much on another person or other people to kind of like pick that up for you. But it's probably starting to do a little like under the surface, if not much more obvious kind of damage to any kinds of connections. And so this is where you might need to step up to another level, right? It's not always easy to hear like, you need to maybe pull up your adult pantaloons and like get to, I don't know why I said pantaloons, but like get to like doing more and like taking on more responsibility, or more of like shouldering more of like the weight, pulling your own weight. Now, I'm not trying to call you out in that way and just be like, all of you, all Gemini risings and Gemini suns are this, right? Again, this is a collective reading. So if the message resonates for you, it's here for you. If it doesn't, that's fine. Go watch your rising sign. Or, I mean, honestly, get a one-to-one reading. If you find yourself watching, this is something I want to just say really quickly. If you find yourself watching collective reading videos, which I do. I watch collective reading videos. If you find yourself watching them though, and you're just like, that's not it, so that person must just be wrong, just know it's a collective reading, so it's just not your message that particular time. If you ever want to get specific, you want specificity, then whether it's myself or another reader, get a one-to-one reading, because that's the only way you're going to get like that direct clear reading. Okay, so that said, for some of you, this will be the case. And I feel like for some of you, it might be like a wince-worthy moment where you kind of like look to the side and go, yeah, maybe I am kind of doing that with certain people, or in this situation, or even with a company, perhaps, like, I might not want to look at that, but yeah, I kind of am. And so, and maybe it's out of integrity and it's like hurting my sense of self-worth in some way. Here's the thing is like, I bet that, you know, either like diversifying your support network, and or looking at how you can see where you're maybe more able to do these things that you're depending on other people for yourself. And just kind of examining that and looking at that. So the spiritual advice that we have coming through is the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So it's a lot of swords energy. Could be about communication. First of all, let's just say that it could be about communication, but it's definitely a thought-based place, right? The Page of Swords, though, is more kind of logical problem solving in the way that they approach things, right? Pages are more youthful than the other cards. They have sometimes a more lighthearted way of approaching a particular element, and we're looking at the air element, which has to do with like our communication, our thoughts, our beliefs, truth, right? Has a lot to do with that. And so I think in order to get some clarity here and to start, again, these cards are meant to talk about like, how can you start to move this energy through? How can you start to clear this out and like really start to address it? And I think that there is this need to look at logically what is like when you can take a look at things factually as opposed to from an emotional perspective, it can give us a lot of clarity. So inject some logic into this particular situation. I'm not saying that that's what we should do all the time and just be like all logical and analytical and never feel our feelings. But sometimes when we're in a space where we're feeling like cloudy or lost or like overwhelmed or in our feelings, like having some clarity really can come in through being more curious about how we can look at things in a factual way and a more logical way. This is really truth-based is what I'm feeling. And then the Queen of Swords comes through again with this message of staying true to yourself, about what's so and what's true for you. But in order to do that, you have to be able to distinguish fact from story, right? And so that's one aspect of this. But the Queen of Swords also says like, hey, things need to be communicated. and they need to be communicated in a clear and concise and direct way. Now, people sometimes mistake this for doing this in a very sharp way, and I would not say that that's the way that I would recommend to go about this. You know, you can communicate in ways that are direct and clear, and also diplomatic or conscious of like how it's landing, how it's being communicated, and staying true to yourself, right? And being able to speak what's so for you. So I feel like there's a lot of like clearing and getting clarity in this, maybe having certain conversations with certain people, or maybe just getting really clear with yourself about like what's actually true for you. Maybe what was true for you when you started doing this is not necessarily true for you now. Now, that said, for those of you who haven't like clicked out and been like, screw that, I don't like that message, let's take a look at maybe some lighter things, right? So we're looking here at the Page of Wands. Remember that this card is, we're taking a look at like, what can you do, right? How can you be in action? How can you align your actions with what it is that you want to create for your life, with your values, right? So a little bit easier, I think, to look at is like, how can we be in action? And I really love this particular card for this. You know, the pages, like I was just saying, are very like kind of lighthearted, more youthful, sometimes kind of playful about the way that they go about the energy of that particular card. The wands are a card of fire. So we're talking about like creativity and inspiration and intuition, and I know water is also intuition, but like, yeah, intuition and like fun and playfulness and fire, and that fire for life, right? And the cool thing about the Page of Wands is that the Page of Wands is like, I'm gonna go in the direction of wherever I feel like the most like passionate, like sparked, the most energy, and they move in that direction. That's what they move towards. And so I would say, and sometimes that involves travel. Sometimes that means like literally moving in a certain direction, like going on an adventure, definitely very Page of Wands is going on an adventure, going on some kind of like trip, you know, taking a journey, whatever it is. But like those things that you find in life, I mean, Gemini, come on, this, like, if you have Gemini placements that you really relate to, this would definitely, I think, speak to a Gemini, is like where you feel that spark of curiosity, where you feel like really curious about certain things, like you just want to explore them, go explore them, go in those directions, like go do that thing. That's actually what's going to lead you towards what it is that you're moving towards in your life with regard to like what you want to create with your values as well, right? If you're like kind of like, I'm a little bit unclear on like what I want to create for my life or what I'm building, maybe the exploration, maybe going like exploring the things that pique your interest and that spark your curiosity, and notice like sparking, I'm talking about like fiery, I'm talking about like what lights you up, would be really helpful. And also that kind of energy can not only help clear a lot of things out, but it can help us see like what's actually possible. I find it really interesting because you also have the Hangman card that comes out for how to like ferry you through the next 2 weeks, right? And so this is kind of like some additional advice that we're getting, and it's also talking about looking at things from a different perspective, which is what I really liked in the first place about seeing these two kind of hanging upside down in this way, right? Is just is the similar position. I feel like there's a quality that in this particular reading is connecting the two of them, right? Look at things outside the box. Take a break, right? This is, you know, maybe a time to slow yourself down, maybe be in a quiet space and really take some time to look at things outside the box, to see things from a different perspective. And I've often said in my readings that this reminds me of like, you know, when you were a kid, I think a lot of kids have done this, and you hang upside down from like your bed or the couch or the monkey bars or something like that, and you look at the world upside down, and it's just like your imagination can really run free, right? It's just like you can see things you didn't see before just because things are turned on their head, right? And so this is the kind of energy that we have with your advice. I really love the advice that you're getting that's coming through, especially to offset like something that felt a little bit darker. So I hope that this felt helpful for you. If it did, if it was insightful in some way, please consider giving the video a like. It does help. And consider subscribing or hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of the other videos on the horizon. Like I said, I just put out the astrology. So if you were like two things. If you want to look at like this inside of the bigger picture of the month, I would say go check out your monthly reading for Gemini, right? Which those are up, and I'll have that up on the screen. If you're also looking to get a little bit more specific with themes, I like the way the integration, the way that tarot and astrology can really click together to give us more of a full picture. So there's timestamps in the video so that you can skip ahead to any date that you want. So I talk about certain dates so that you can mark your calendar, but you can also just skip around to whichever date inside that video that you want to check out. So I have other videos that I'm going to be experimenting and putting out on the horizon. So definitely, if you want to stay tuned, hit the notification bell. And as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.